Hey everybody, it's that time again. Time to live the dream. I am Rishi Barran with the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. This is episode number 36. Bring on the bus, Jerome Bettis. And my guest today does have a Steelers jersey in his background, but we all know he's a diehard Eagles fan, even though he's wearing a Chicago Bears shirt for me, which was very kind of him. We've got Darren Healey, and he is the founder and chief of content for 610 Media, a company he started on his own from scratch, something that he told me when he was a student. I want to create my own content. I don't want to have to work for anybody. I want to work for myself. Guess what? He's doing it now. And Darren, thank you for your time tonight.
Rishi, thank you. I've been a loyal listener of the Livin The Dream podcast, so it's very excited to finally be on it.
Well, as we say, it's fun to live the dream, right? But no, you've been someone I've been looking forward to talking to because for a number of different reasons, which we'll get into during the sportscast. But one of our finer students at our school, and he's doing something a little different than a lot of the other people who have been on here have done. Darren, we will dive into it. We will actually go into some of your content later, but you had to start somewhere. Where did the dream begin for you?
It began when I realized that building computers does not make me money because going to like my junior year in high school, that's basically what I wanted to do. I really liked computers and I liked building them. I liked working on them. And I even did Votech to help make me more knowledgeable, especially with Macs. But then I got more into it. I was like, yeah, this isn't what I want to do. So I've always liked sports. I've always thought being a sportscaster would be fun. So junior year is when I kind of transitioned into wanting going into sportscasting. At first, I looked at Connecticut School of Broadcasting, which is in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I liked it. I was going to do that with community college. That was only a certificate in sportscasting. And then I think in February of 19, my aunt's brother-in-law told me about Full Sail. And I looked it up. I was like, oh, they got this brand spanking new sportscasting school. Let me go check it out. So my dad and I flew down in June. We loved it. Applied down there, and that's how I ended up at Full Sail. And that's how I
From
ended up doing sportscasting.
Well, from wanting to build computers to using a computer every day to create fantastic content. I think Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, more Jobs than Wozniak, did a little bit more better at this point financially than you have done, at least so far. So, but you picked a great path. You went from being the next Steve Jobs to being the next Marv Albert, let's say, right? So,
Well,
yes,
technically, I would have been more the Wozniak was more
Wozniak,
on the tech side.
sure.
Jobs is more the marketer and business guy.
Well, fortunately for us, you've been able to do both and do that at a high level. But there's a reason that your company is called 610 Media. That is the area code in the Philadelphia area. You're in that area, and you grew up among some of the craziest and wildest and most passionate sports fans around. How did that influence your childhood and teenage years?
Um, I mean, up like it was just kind of natural for me to root for all the Philly teams. I really don't pay that much attention to basketball and hockey, but growing up, I loved baseball. I loved the Phillies. I wish I had a better memory and could remember them winning the '08 World Series, but I just don't remember it. I knew I was into them at that time though. Um, and then around seventh grade, I started playing Madden Mobile, which really helped me get into football. And then since then, like football, like I love baseball, but like football's been really my passion since then. Um, but no, growing up in the Philly area, especially with sports, it was fun. I mean, for my entire middle, high school, and college career, the Phillies sucked. So that was something, but I still watch as many games as possible. And then Eagles won the Super Bowl in my sophomore year, which was really fun to watch. Even though I vomited in Modell's afterwards, still fun. um, and yeah, I mean, um, even some of the local sports, like I enjoy watching some of the local high school sports, like football. That's part of what I did actually coming out of college. I did some freelancing for local sports, and that was fun to watch. Um, but yeah, Philadelphia definitely has a deep fan base. They're definitely passionate about their teams. I do agree that they're very annoying sometimes. Also, I will I will always say that. But no, it was fun. It's a great city to be a sports fan in.
When you played Madden Mobile, who were your favorite teams and players to use in the game?
Oh my, so I remember one of the very first really good cards I got. It was a Football Outsiders, Des Bryant, 96 overall. That was like the first like really good card I got. I played as the Eagles back then. I remember getting like a Warren Moon card, which I
Hmm.
thought was cool. Like it was like one of the best cards you can get. Same with JJ Watt. I got that like 2 days before the next season in Madden Mobile, so I couldn't really use them all that much. Um, oh man, I'm trying to remember. Oh gosh, I haven't played Madden Mobile in a minute. Um, yeah, those are like the three main cards I remember pulling, especially the Des Bryant one, just because that was like the first big one I ever got. It's like, whoa.
I'm just imagining Warren Moon with the Eagles. That sounds fun because he played when I was a kid, and
Yeah,
they had this offense they called the run and shoot, and it was kind of the first wide open offense, at least that I had seen. There may have maybe the San Diego with Dan Fouts and teams like
yeah,
that had done other things, but the run and shoot was fun. It was four receivers and a running back at the time. That was blasphemy in football, and they
yeah.
did it, and the Atlanta Falcons did it. There were a couple teams that did. But that sounds like a lot of fun. I know that another big part of your growing up was the band, right?
Yes, yeah.
You were in marching band, and you were also in the drumline program at your high school. What did you enjoy about music?
I enjoyed performing. Um, I really stuck more to the marching side of it than the concert side, just because I always thought of myself as a good player, but not really a good musician. Just like music never really came naturally to me, but like I was still able to learn it. And in my area, like my high school's marching program was like legendary. In 2013, they were open class champions in the United States for drumline. So like there was so much hype
Wow.
around everything. The marching band was always really good at competitions. Um, and then actually going into my freshman year, they cut the drum line, but then brought it back. But it wasn't really ever the same afterwards. Um, by the time we got to my senior year, we were really good. We were getting first place in our first two comps, and then COVID came along and canceled the season.
Hmm.
So that was a bit of a bummer to end my marching career in high school. But I really always just enjoyed the performing aspect of it. I consider marching band and indoor drumline a sport of the art where it's not like it's physical, but and it's like more endurance. Like you have to you have to be in good tip top physical shape to do the things that marching band performers and indoor drumline performers do. Um, and when it came to like the shows, there's two kinds. There's either a concept show or like a story show. So it was always just really fun, just trying to project what the director had in mind with the show. And I was in the pit, so I didn't move at all. So for I really got to be able to like with my facial expressions and my body movement, really go all out and trying to portray what we were trying to portray in those shows.
Well, with the success that you had at your school, it sounds like it comes with some added pressure that you may not be under if you went to another school doing the same thing. Um, you were under that a little bit with us in school, where you would have that pressure of performance under conditions where it was like, hey, it's make it or break it today. How did that band experience help going through all that?
It is so goofy. I have found so many correlations between band and going to school for sportscasting. It was crazy. We kept all of our music in a binder with the clear sheets. For play by play, I kept all my notes in the same binder with clear sheets. For band, we'd sometimes have 12-hour days. We'd had really long hour days in sportscasting. Um, we'd work on, we'd have rehearsal on Saturdays for band. We would, have classes on Saturday for sportscasting, and then obviously the performance correlation to it. You're as a sportscaster, I know Gus always says you're a storyteller, but you can also be a performer in a sense also. So being able to do band and uh having that performing experience really made me comfortable with just like, as Gus says, embracing the stupid. Like I was so used to embracing the stupid with marching band that just came naturally for me when it came to sportscasting. And in terms of pressure, we were under a lot of pressure, not as much as you would probably assume based on how you framed it, just because of like the program getting cut and then being brought back. it was like two completely different leaderships. So, we all had like a level that we wanted to perform to, but we knew it wasn't really ever going to be to the standard that was beforehand. We really wanted it to, but uh we were just unable to get there, but we were still good. And yeah, that whole experience just the amount of correlation was just astounding to me. It was really goofy when I just like started noticing all the similarities.
You do a lot of editing now. You did a lot of editing with us. It's been a cornerstone of some of the work that you do beyond the performance is the understanding production and how it ties into everything. I would imagine that being able to keep time and all the musical things that were part of your life early on translates to the edit bay. How was that connection?
Honestly, I don't know if there really is one.
No?
I mean, time management a little bit. Um, there weren't really any deadlines in band. I mean, obviously we had like a schedule and it's like, hey, learn your music before this practice. It's like, all right, but like,
Hmm.
I had a lot of open time to practice and rehearse and learn the music. Um,
What about the idea though of kind of the beat of the music, which comes with editing, where you have the understanding of, when to, make a change to what, a change in the visual to kind of keep the pace going.
I think I learned that later on, just like after I did so much editing, I learned, all right, this is the pace I really like. I didn't really, that's actually kind of neat that you're able to correlate that with like keeping time from a metronome. Um, yeah, I didn't really kind of learn to like really hone down my pacing for editing until probably like until even after I graduated. I used to really be a slow editor. Now then I went into kind of like ADD editing mode where like everything's moving, but now I have a nice mix. That's like all right, keeps it moving, but at the same time it's not like stimulating your brain every second.
You lived an interesting life so far. And one thing I read doing a little research heading into this was you used to go with your grandfather and do Meals on Wheels
Yeah,
and do something to help people. What did you take out of seeing those smiling faces and knowing you were doing something productive?
it was fun. I got to spend time with my grandpa. I see him often, but it's nice to spend some one-on-one time with him. And it just felt good, helping, the elderly folk who can't really get out of their house. It's a little depressing at times, like just like
Mhm.
seeing them and like, ugh, and like you sometimes gets like a glimpse inside of their house and it's like, ugh. But it was nice being able to help them. I like helping people. Um, and actually, during COVID, in high school, I worked at a retirement home, and during COVID, we had to deliver meals to the rooms, so it was kind of, like a little throwback. But yeah, I just always just enjoyed helping them. It was something nice to do. During summer, I didn't always have things to do every day, so it was nice to just, for like 2 hours of the day, just go with my grandpa, drive around, and just deliver some meals.
Yeah, and I'm sure that that was just special to spend that time with him too, and just get to know him better and the influence that I'm sure he's had on your life. And now you're in the media business. I'm sure you had some media people that were out there that made a mark on you. Who did you like that was part of the media scene as you started to get more and more into it?
Um, Even though I barely remember anything in elementary school, Harry Callis, the Phillies play-by-play announcer. Even though I don't remember like watching the games, but like going back and watching his calls, he's obviously legendary here. Same with Merrill Reese. Um, I really didn't start to like attach myself to media people until like really late in high school, going into college. Um, quite honestly, I like a lot of people. If more so on the play-by-play announcing side than the talking head side. I really don't like a lot of talking head shows. They're just like I know that they're there for entertainment, not really like, oh, I know sports. Um but this might be polarizing, but I like Joe Buck. I like Joe Davis also. Um I always thought Al Michaels was good. Um really I feel like it'd be easier for me to say people I don't like than to say people I do like.
Well, you don't need to worry about that right now.
Yeah.
We're a family show, so we want to make sure you don't throw anybody too hard under the bus. But at a certain point, you made that transition from the life of music into where you said you were when you were getting ready to choose a school. You were all in on the broadcasting. What flipped that switch more in that direction?
COVID. COVID really did kind of kill my love for band. I still appreciate it like now, and I still sometimes enjoy watching the shows, but yeah, COVID just killed the love for band. Also, plus I was moving to a completely different state. I had zero transportation, so even if I wanted to do band, it would have been really hard, and it cost a lot of money. Um, band was one of those things where it was a high school activity that I enjoyed doing at the time, but I had to end that chapter in my life at some time and then move on to the next chapter.
We're talking to Darren Healey. He is the founder of 610 Media. You can catch a lot of great stuff, which we'll get into a bit later on social media on his YouTube channel, all 610 football. And it's something it's a lot of fun to watch, and I can't wait till we get deeper into that part of it. But you decided to come to us. You mentioned Connecticut School of Broadcasting was one that you looked at. There's a quote somewhere early on in our program when I think it was when they were introducing it. I think it was Dan Patrick's agent said something like, Full Sail as if Connecticut School of Broadcasting and University of Phoenix had a child or something like
Yeah,
that. It
and
was
it
a
took
funny
steroids.
quote. Yeah. So you chose us.
Yeah.
Why did we stand out to you amongst other places where you knew you could also get into the media?
Well, so I had three choices. It was Connecticut School of Broadcasting, Full Sail, and then like I half thought about Temple, but then I was like, yeah, North Philly, not gonna go there. But when I came down to Full Sail, as a school, I really liked how they operate, all the hands-on stuff. The 20-month bachelor's thing was really appealing to me. Um, the fact that they cut out a lot of the gen ed classes and really made you focus on what you want to do. And also when it came specifically to the school, I liked how it was structured. I liked I guess just like the vibe you guys were going for. Like, let's work our tails off every day. And we want to make sure that you guys, being the students, have every opportunity to succeed as possible. Compared to a normal college where you're in a lecture hall with like 350 kids, we got a lot of one-on-one time with you and all the other teachers, and it just felt like the perfect fit for how I like learning and how someone wants to teach me. So it was just match made in heaven. Florida was a little bit of a plus. I never lived really outside of the state before, so it was nice being down there, especially during the winter. Summer, not so much. Um, but it just felt like just like the perfect thing.
You mentioned COVID and how that affected your high school experience. It was very much still a huge deal when you came to us.
Yeah.
Um, what were the early days like when that was still a really big deal, which was for a little while into your time at Full Sail?
Um, KJ and I have actually talked about this in depth before. We feel like we had the perfect schedule with COVID. So our first 3 months were just completely online, you know, just like everyone else was. Then in December, which was our fourth month, the studio opened back up. And at that time, I was actually kind of thinking about just like moving back home for a little bit. Just because like it felt useless being down there when we weren't really doing anything. Um, but then while I was back for Thanksgiving break, I saw Gus sent out the email like, "Hey, we're opening up the studio." I'm like, "Awesome, let's do it." Um, so December the studio opened up. Then in February, which was month 6, is when we started the hybrid classes. So my first hybrid class was with Mike Stinton in broadcast writing. So it was like like the one class in person a week and then one
Hmm.
class online a week. And then we kept on moving along. And then I think by August of 21, so month 12, month 11, 12, 13, is when it was like, all right, back fully in person. And then just kept on moving along. And then by my last month, they removed masks. So it just felt perfect. Like the timing of going down there with COVID and how I kind of got like to experience like a little chunk of everything of the transition from COVID back into normalcy.
You were in Pennsylvania, you'd never left there. You talked about there were some appealing things about coming to Florida, but then you got here, you probably heard all your Florida man stories before you made it. How did reality sit in with you of what Florida really was like with your experience?
Honestly, it kind of just felt like I was just in like a different part of Pennsylvania. This is going to sound really corny, but the
I
fact
have
that
not
there were
heard that before.
Wawas down there like made it feel so much more like home. Like it really did help. Just Wawa is a staple here. I grew up 20 minutes away from the first ever Wawa. Um, it like Wawa is a staple where I'm from. So the fact that they were everywhere down there really made me feel more at home. Um, yeah, I mean it was fun. It was also nice living on my own for the first time. So for the first year I had two roommates, and then going into my second half of college, one of them ended up just selling for their associates, and then me and my other roommate got a different place. Um, my first apartment was disgusting, both because of us and also just because of the building, like, and the management. Um, but it was fun. I enjoyed living down there. And then when I visited this past February, it was still fun. If I couldn't live up here, I'd probably live down there just because a big thing for where I want to live, wherever, is just feeling comfortable and familiarity. And since I'm already semi-familiar with that area, I would live down there if I had to. But I still like up here better.
Those two jerseys behind you, Eagles and Steelers, you might as well just make them Wawa and Sheets because that
Ah,
rivalry is
no
probably
sheets.
bigger. No, that's what I'm saying.
Ooh.
That rivalry is probably bigger in Pennsylvania than the preseason games between the Steelers and the Eagles, I would say.
Yeah,
So,
people try and compare Wawa and Bucky's, but
oh no,
Bucky's
come
really
on,
is
man.
is in a tier of its own. Um, and Gus would say Wawa's fast food. I'm like, no, or no. Gus would say Wawa's gas station food. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, let's time out. Wawa is a convenience store food. The Wawa I go to is just the store, no gas station. Like that like it is one of the OG Wawas, and it I don't care what he says, it's not gas station food. It is comfort food.
And if we want to get literal, there is a gas station out
I
front.
know.
But you're right. It's not like going to some of these old junky,
Sleazy
uh,
stores.
Sunoco from whenever, however long ago. No, don't want to throw Sunoco under the bus, but you brought up the studio. That is how I got to know you. You know why I got
Yeah.
to know you there? Because you were there all the time. And
Yeah.
really, that was the beginning of our time when people would work in the studio. I think we had it a little bit before COVID, but not much because we were still really early on. COVID hit for my class, which is the last class in the program. I think we were in like our fifth month of people graduating. It was very early on. And
Yeah.
then when we
Yeah.
came back, it was like, okay, now we got all these students that can come in and help. The whole program is complete. How did you take advantage of turning, going to the studio a few times into really ingratiating yourself into this program?
It was just something for me to get out of the house and do. Like I don't like being cooped up all the time. I liked getting out of the house and going and learning more and just continuously working to try and get better. Even though the school is advertised really as an on-air school, and that's what I originally went down there for. It was so fun being able to work in the studio. There was a certain adrenaline rush you would get, like either TDing or directing or whatnot. It was just really fun. Um, and I was like I'm not doing anything else. Why would I not just go in there as much as possible? It was just it felt stupid for me not to go in there. And it was annoying when like more people started to go into the studio. It's like, you guys are taking my time away from me. Um, but it just felt like common sense to go in there as much as possible and enjoy myself because it reminded me of high school a little bit. I got to go into the same place every day, see my group of friends, and work my tail off.
And you got on-air opportunities too from being there. I remember
Yeah,
that, Justin Velasquez graduated. He was on his own. He had a class by himself, and you and KJ Doyle were there, and you guys had been there a million times. So I'm like, you guys deserve an opportunity because you keep showing up. Let's get you on the air. And I do recall you getting to do some debates early on.
yeah,
Were there any nerves that came with that because you hadn't really had much experience in front of the camera at that point?
absolutely. And like I had made YouTube videos before that, so like I was comfortable, I was semi-comfortable with being in front of the camera. But I'm not sure if you remember, I used to suck at talking, like even just conversationally. Like growing up, I had a speech impediment. My mom described it as if I had a bag of marbles in my mouth when I talked. Um, and I got rid of it a little bit, but even like in high school, um, like I wasn't the clearest speaker. And by that time I got to be on camera, we hadn't taken any vocal training classes yet. So I really hadn't been able to hone in on that part of everything. So I was definitely nervous. But as Chris says, have your worst day in there, and I had a gajillion of my worst days in there. But that's what the studio is for, is to get reps, and it was fun. I forget what I know the one was I think it was like the worst. We were talking about like the worst and best head coaching hire from that cycle. Um I think that was one of the ones we were talking about. I
You know
think that
I'm
was
gonna
one of the
find the
topics.
video of this and pop it up, so we'll find it.
Probably. Yeah, yeah, I'd have to do some digging for that though. I think that was I remember talking about the head coaching hires. Um and I do think I graded Urban Meyer as the worst one, so,
Oh, good for
even back
you.
then I knew ball.
We'll play
Um
that. We'll play that sod up full right now.
I must say, if it has to be the absolute worst head coaching hire, it's going to be Urban Meyer of the Jacksonville Jaguars. You look at all but no, it was fun, and it was awesome that you gave me that opportunity at so early on.
Did how much did the vocal training classes help you then? Because I had no idea that you had a speech impediment at
Oh
some
my
point.
gosh.
How did they improve your ability to communicate?
So much. Those are the three classes I'm the most thankful I took, because that not only helped me professionally, that helped me socially and personally also. I can feel myself speaking more clearer now. Obviously I still have some stumble ups. Um but it just helped me just learn how to talk so much better, just because I think you guys taught it the right way, and also I did enough practice of it. I can send you this, or you might be able to ask us for it. I remember the one day he was showing us how, like, for like the behind the scenes tour, you'll have like the touring students like get in front of the camera and do a quick little thing. So he found a bunch of those one day, and he found mine. I think I was with George Perez, and that was me when I was freshly 17 years old, and my voice was like high pitched. I was like talking, like I was mumbling. It was so bad. So that's how I talked like a year before I got into college, and I can guarantee you I probably did not improve a lot going into college. And then by the time I was done, it felt a lot better. And then here we are 2 years later, and I'm speaking the best I've ever spoken.
You sound great, and that's
Ah,
such a
thank you.
such a cool story. And yeah, I'll be happy to see that clip. That'll be fun little add on to what we're doing here. You were part of some historic moments while you were with us too. Let's get into a couple of them, and then we'll get into the one that I know you'll want to talk about later, which you probably know where I'm going with that. But um, first Full Sail live show, I think you were part of that, and then the first Pop Warner show, right? Weren't you part of both of those?
Yeah, so for the Full Sail live show, I remember TDing. I don't think I was in it. I think I just TD'd it. And then for the Pop Warner show, I TD'd that also, but I ended up having to hop on camera for the live report we did at Camping World Stadium, because Hanky got caught up at the airport, and Luke McDonald, Gordy, and I were at Camp World. I was just wearing my Dan Patrick polo, and I was actually in Gordy's class at that time, so he felt confident in me letting me do that. So that was fun. I really don't remember a lot from the first Full Sail live show. I'm 99% sure I was not in it, but I do remember working like on
Yeah,
it
well, that's
production
what I
wise.
mean. I mean, like
Yeah.
just because if you weren't on air, that's you're still part of the team and an important
Yeah.
part of the team. So those were some historic moments with it. Why don't I just go to the one that you'll definitely want to talk about? You are the first student ever to receive a 100 in my project and portfolio 7 class, and that was actually with a package that was about a marching band, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was about Infinity Percussion, which is a world class indoor drum line based in Central Florida. It was right before WGI finals, and it was their first time going to WGI finals since 2019, because they're normally held in April. So 2020, obviously beginning of COVID, didn't happen. Then 21, still in like the thick of it, so they didn't have in 21 either. So 2022 was the first time that WGI was having their world finals, and they were going back to it. So, and I've always enjoyed marching. I always thought it would have been cool to do a story about either a drum corps or an indoor percussion group, and it just felt like the perfect time to do it. I had a little bit of a connection there, which is how I was able to get permission to do the story. And just doing the story just felt natural. Like I knew exactly what I wanted it to be about. I knew what questions I wanted to ask. And having been in the marching arts before I knew what shots would look good. And obviously with everything else that I was taught, like the um I know we write to video on live, but like for package editing to my writing, I learned from you guys. And then also like my favorite part of that was all the nats, the either the normal nats or the nat fulls that I included in there. It just I felt like it just helped the story move along a lot better. And even to this day, I still think that's the best piece of media I've ever produced.
Wow.
Yeah, even with all the videos I made, I still think that one's the best one I've ever produced. For Full Sail Live, I'm Darren Healey.
So how did it feel to get the 100?
It felt good. I was really happy, and then when he told me that was the first 100, I was like, "Whoa!" Like, because I know there were so many great students before me. I was like, "Really, none of them got 100?" Now also did help that I got an early start with that project, and I did show it to you a couple times to get your feedback before I finally submitted it. So you kind of guided me along a little bit, but
Well, I'm not going to criticize you for going the extra mile and starting
yeah,
sooner and actually coming for feedback. That sounds like a smart, good student to me.
yeah. Um, the only thing that wasn't really real world about it was that I had 3 weeks to do it. Normally in the real world you get like 2 hours or whatever. So but I made sure I took a lot of time and just carefully and precisely made it exactly how I wanted it to be. And I do think that was very deserving of the 100, if I may say so myself.
Still time to change it. No, there's really not. You got it. So by the time you got to the end, we had conversations and you kept telling me that, I want to create my own company and I want to create my own content. What drew you to that idea?
I just always loved YouTube. Like growing up, I used to love watching Minecraft videos on YouTube. I used to make Minecraft videos. And like it was always just like it's weird. It was always like a dream of mine to be like a YouTuber. And then, but at the same time, I remember I was like, oh, I would never be a YouTuber full time. Like the income is so inconsistent. But that's when I had zero idea on how the business side of it worked. Um, and what really, really inspired me was when Gus had Casey Kiernan on for an IL. And I was like, wow, you actually, it gave great insight on how you can be a full time YouTuber and that sports can work on YouTube. So I just felt the time was right. I originally, like when I first thought about making my own company, what I originally wanted to be was just like a production company that put on live broadcasts of local sports. But then I was like, there's no money in that either. Um, and then I was like, let me just make my videos on YouTube and whatnot. And oh my gosh, I experimented with so many different videos. Like I remember during the 2020 season, I would just make like highlight videos. Like they're basically just like highlight reads. They sucked so bad, so bad. Um, and then by the time 2021 came around, sort of the same thing, but I tried implementing what we learned in Robert's class. The video still sucked. Um, and then I was like, oh, there's shorts you can make. And I was like, this seems a lot easier making a minute long video more consistently. So it started out with storytelling videos, just like of different, just like cool little stories I found neat and worthwhile sharing. And then now it's evolved, at least on 610 football, to doing NFL trivia.
Well, we're going to dive into all of that in just a second. But before we get there,
Is this an
what
ad read?
no, no, it does feel like that, doesn't it? But what were your biggest takeaways from being part of our school and everything that went with being in the program? You were in an excellent class. You were someone people looked up to by the end of the time as being a leader. What was your overall kind of takeaway from being with us?
I think it really instilled a good work ethic in me, to always keep on pushing yourself and never settle for how you did yesterday. Um, and it really opened my eyes to like how much amazing talent there is in this industry and how hard I have to work to keep myself up to par with said talent. I mean, I absolutely love the school. I think it's amazing. I think it's fantastic. I think if people want to get into sportscasting, they should do that. They should go there. If you want to use this bit for commercial, you have my permission. But I mean, I don't know. Like, this is gonna sound boring, but like everything was my biggest takeaway. Just everything I learned there. I have always tried to carry on with me in since then, whether it be in my work life or even in my personal life. Like even though I don't really do I do interviews, but like I'm not doing interviews where like a sit down interview where I'm asking someone a sequence of questions. Mike Tuck's class has really just helped me be a better conversational speaker, and just like asking questions like, oh, how'd you get into this? Like the who, what, when, where, just like asking those questions more so often when I'm talking to people.
That's Darren Healey. He is creating his own content and he's doing what he said he was going to do. And that leads to the second big question. What's it like living the dream, Darren?
It's fun. It's gotten a little redundant at points where like I wake up, I make a video, and then I go to bed. Um, but it's gotten to the point now where like I want to just do so much more. Like I said this to you before, I hate not working. I feel useless when I don't work. And like I'm young now, I have the energy, I have the time. I want to be able to push myself now to help make 610 Media the best football media company possible. Um, but I'm very, very thankful for what I do. I'm very lucky to have a supportive family backing me up on what I do, even when at first I wasn't making money. And like I told them that I was like, hey, I'm not gonna make money at first, but I promise I'll make this work. And then by December, I got my first ever paycheck from YouTube, a whopping $565. Um, and I was like, all right, there's a start. And obviously I knew I had to work other jobs while building 610 Media. So I worked at a company called the Sports Fan Base Network, which is what I originally wanted 610 Media to be, which is they did live productions of local sports. So I got to do some camera work and then also play by play, which is something I very much enjoyed doing. And that's actually one of the things that was like my original dream with sportscasting, was to be a play-by-play announcer. So I got to do some of that for local schools. I got to do one for a St. Joe's prep game, which if you know anything about high school football, they're consistently a top 10 team in the country. So it was really cool doing one of those games. I got to call state finals for volleyball, which if you told me that at the beginning of my journey, I'd be like, nah, I'm not going to call a volleyball game. But then I was like, oh, this is a fun sport to call. Um, I got to do play-by-play for a women's football league, which was an experience. I'll say that. But I also worked for the Eagles, which would have never been possible if I didn't push myself the way I did while I was at school.
So let's go into that for a minute. You're obviously a big fan of the team. You're somebody who also was a fan of production, and now you got them kind of both hand in hand. What did you enjoy about working for the Eagles?
The food.
What did
Like
they have for you?
when that report card came out that said that the Eagles had like an A+ cafeteria, I'm like, yep,
What
I
did
can
they
vouch for
have?
that. Well, so for home games, we would have whatever the players were having. So it'd be like filet mignon or like salmon or chicken. It was so, so good. But for away games, we would always get like catering and they would not skimp out on it. So they took care of us culinarily while I worked there. But no, working for the Eagles was fun. It was really because of Gus I got that job, because he did talent coaching for their in-house talent. And the producer Melissa, she told him like, hey, we're going to have our positional jobs opening up soon, or seasonal jobs opening up soon. So I knew I was able to get an early head start on when to expect them. I was able to apply for them all immediately. And because of my experience from school and my connections I've made, mainly with Gus, I know I'm pretty sure I asked you to reach out to them and Eric. Um, I was able to get that job, although I did not get the original job I applied for. I originally applied for a seasonal position. I did not get that job. I ended up getting a game day position with them, which was more suited for me because a seasonal position had a lot of editing to do with it. And even though I do edit, I don't edit on the level that they're really able to edit to. But it was great. I got to go in, stand behind a camera, eat food, watch the Eagles and Red Zone, stand behind the camera again, and I got a per diem. It was fantastic. And I can call myself an NFC champion. I don't have a ring, but I can still
I
call
don't think
myself.
you can. I don't think you
Nah, hey, if it weren't for me, you don't know if they would have gotten that.
can.
You don't know.
What did you learn working there?
So you just because you love sports does not mean you're going to work like it's guaranteed that you'll work in sports. Like a lot of the people that I work there with are TV people. Like um especially production wise, like just because you enjoy sports doesn't mean that you're suited for sports TV. You have to know actual TV. And if I didn't spend countless hours in the studio and with Chris, I was not gonna get that job. And I think that's something that like I'm sure people realize later on in the sportscasting journey. Like I'm sure early on it's like, oh, I love sports. All my sports knowledge is gonna get me a job. It's like it's not how that works. You have to actually be a good on camera or um be able to produce good TV because like even with some of our guys, people who love sports, they still end up working in normal news just because they're good on camera and they're good with storytelling. So, um just because you're a big fan of sports does not mean you're qualified to work in sports media.
Well, now you're doing it on your own. You're your own boss. You make your own hours, you make your own content, and you make your own money. How do you make
Yeah.
money doing what you're doing?
So right now I was going to give a sarcastic answer, but I'm not going to. Right now I have two main media revenue streams or revenue streams, not media streams, revenue streams, AdSense and then sponsorships. So I'm sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. So I get I signed a deal with them from April to through August right now. So I get like a monthly check from them. And then on TikTok and YouTube, you get paid once you're able to get monetized, you get paid per 1,000 views. So it depends on what your RPM is. There's a lot more money to be made in long form videos, which is why I'm trying to get into those and trying to build up a little library of them now for the upcoming season. Um, but yeah, basically, and there are so many more revenue streams you can dive into. You can dive into like um premium subscriptions to where like people pay a monthly price and they get exclusive content. Um you could do merch, um selling your own product, which is huge for content creators. If you can build a strong enough fan base and then develop your own product, they will eat that up. Like that is such a big revenue stream. Um I feel like there's and also just like fan funding. It's really hard to get fan funding with short form content. Fan funding is just when like fans just donate to you. Um, but there are so many different revenue streams you can do while being a content creator, and hopefully I can eventually take advantage of all of them.
So I have two questions for you that have, I guess they have something to do with what we did in school, but mostly they don't. From a business perspective, we taught you how to broadcast and do all this stuff. We only taught you so much about being a businessman, all right? So my first question is, how did you identify and grow your audience?
It took a while. I mean, YouTube gives you great analytics into your audience, and that really helped with it. But um, to know your audience, you have to be a lot more of a marketing guy than a business guy. And I eventually ended up taking a course with a world-renowned YouTube consultant, and he really helped me realize like this: if you find the right audience, YouTube will push the your content to that audience, and you have to consistently deliver upon their demands. Like you kind of have to know what they want before they even know what they want. So and one of my and something I struggled with early on is that like I thought my niche was football. So I was like, all right, let me just make a bunch of different kinds of football videos. But that niche is too broad because there are different audiences within football that enjoy different things. So I would upload like a man on the street video, like a trivia video, but it wouldn't resonate with the right audience because it got pushed out to an audience that watches me for my storytelling videos. So once I figured out like, all right, I'll make 6-10 football trivia only and I'll cater the questions to a certain audience, that's when I really saw a huge jump in my views.
So the second question is this. As far as I know, you didn't have any like business experience before that. You
Nope.
didn't know anything about running a company. Now, I went to
Never
Full
even
Sail.
opened a lemonade stand.
I went to Full Sail and I took entertainment business master's program, so I know a little bit about
Shoot,
it.
you did. Why am I
Yeah.
not texting you about some of this stuff?
No, that probably wouldn't have helped you. But you have figured it out. So how did you figure out how to run a company?
um, I don't really know actually. It really is just me and Rossi right now. I do really want to hire more people. One of the people I look up to is Mr. Beast. He's the world's largest YouTuber, and I loved watching interviews with him, and I loved adapting his mindset where like, um, always just strive to make the best content possible. And something that he did early on, every cent he has made off of YouTube, he has just reinvested it into his company. And that's how he's been able to amass over 300 million subscribers. Um, so I really do try and just keep so much of the money I make within the company. Like right now, I'm very fortunate. I have very few bills to pay. I don't own a car. But you know, I still get to use my parents' car, and I don't have to pay rent right now, which changes in a year. But I have very low yeah, I have very low expenses. So I'm in that position now to where I can just keep all the money with the company. And then I learned about tax write-offs and how to take advantage of those. So, you know, anytime I spend money, I always make sure I can write off my taxes, but I am still learning. That's why I call myself the chief of content on LinkedIn. You were asking about that. That's really why I call myself the chief of content, because a CEO really has to do with the business side. And while I do operate the business side, I'm not a businessman by any means. So I'm a content guy, so that's why I have myself listed as the chief of content. But
So let's get into some content, right? That's what
yes.
that's what the viewers want to see, right? They don't want to hear me ask you business questions. So you've got all kinds of different stuff. Do you want to explain? Like I'm at your site right now. This is his YouTube channel. It's at 610 Football. As you see, he's got 210,000 subscribers and more than 1,200 videos on here at the
Yeah.
point when we are recording this.
I used to
What's
spam upload videos.
let's just kind of go over what the content is on the page to start with, and then we'll play a couple of these.
So 6 on football really is just I think I have like in the bio I have football content that everyone will enjoy. And the way I was able to do that was take a model that already worked, which was man on the street trivia, and then modify that to make my own. So and when you do man on the street trivia, you could ask a question like, oh, who are the top 5 single season completion percentage holders in NFL history? But with that, you're really only hitting like the hardcore fans. With my style of trivia, so like an example question would be like, what NFL teams wear red primary jerseys? It kind of hits both ends of the NFL fandom, because like the hardcore or my bad, the more casual fans are like, oh, let me try and figure this out. So they're actually engaged with the question. Meanwhile, the hardcore fans find it hilarious to struggle to watch these people answer the questions. And then I filmed them over at West Chester University in Pennsylvania. And I film it on a corner where a very popular bar is. So the intoxicated students also adds another level of entertainment to it.
Yeah, you know, the first look at it, some people might say, "Oh, these shorts you've got here remind you a little bit of that video that the Tennessee Titans did, right? Where they went on
Yeah.
and they had a lot of these man on the street stuff. And you know, as I've seen by looking at some of your stuff, you've continuously made the production value better. I think one of the things that was cool about that Titans video was that the production value was so low and it almost made it better, right? So I think you
Yeah.
kind of got that mixture of great production value, but also kind of this amateurish look as well, which I think works for you, right?
Yeah, and it's YouTube. Like it doesn't have to be some outstanding cinematic experience. And it's not only is YouTube, it's YouTube Shorts. It's vertical videos, which I know was frowned upon in school, but obviously for this I kind of have to make them vertical.
No, I mean, it's a different world that you're living
Yeah.
in with it. Why don't we jump in? This is one of your most recent ones, and this one already has 15,000 views. The one next to it, the baseball one, has 306,000. This one's got more than 1 million. Should I do the
Yeah.
million or should I do the more recent one? I like this recent one, but
Yeah, I can do the most recent one first
all
because
right.
like
So
I said,
this one was fun, right? So I'll play it for you, and then you can kind of go into how you did all this. All right. So here is the guess the NFL player win $20. Money right out of Darren's own pocket, probably tax deductible.
What NFL player is this?
Malcolm Butler.
Not Malcolm Butler.
Welcome, Matt Ryan.
Not Matt Ryan.
Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Stafford. What NFL player is this?
Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, Tua. What NFL player is this?
Deshaun Watson.
Not Deshaun Watson.
Amari Cooper.
No.
What position?
It's a wide receiver. He's not on the Browns.
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown. What NFL player is this?
What position?
It's a wide receiver.
DK Metcalf.
DK Metcalf. DK. What NFL player is this?
Cole Curry. Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs. What NFL player is this?
Jalen. Oh my God. Dude. Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. What NFL player is this?
Julio Jones. Aaron Jones. Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. What NFL player is this?
Jason. Wait. What's the girl's name? Jason Kelsey.
Jason Kelsey. What NFL player?
All right. So tell us a little bit about what we just saw and how you put this together.
So that format was we call it a versus format. So like they had like a race. Basically, whoever answered 5 first won the $20. That's a format that we've seen do well already on TikTok and YouTube. So we just adapted to our own. In terms of those questions, that is what my beautiful demented football mind looks like. That is really a not really a love child because I didn't come up with the exact idea. There's this guy named Jay Cutta on Twitter.
Oh yeah,
fantastic,
I know him.
fantastic.
Sure. It's funny.
He's more of a baseball guy. I'm looking on my other monitor, see if I can find one of the original ones. But like he was doing those with baseball players. I'm like, oh, I can do those with football players. So I was just thinking like, what goofy things can I do? So like the Stephon Diggs ones. It's Steph Curry on someone digging. So that's how I got Stephon Diggs out of that. And we call those iPad questions because originally we did them like a normal man on the street style, and I'd show them on my iPad. But yeah, we took a format that already worked, added our own original twist, and then that's how we got that product.
All right. Well, it's fun, man, and it's fun to go through and see how you did that. You want to go to the beach now?
Yeah, the
do you want to do this one?
Hold on, let me look at my channel. Yeah, you can do so if you go on the second row, 1, 2, 3, 4, the second row 5 videos in.
Second row. So
Yeah.
this one, the videos, this one, videos. Okay.
Oh no, I mean on shorts. So on the shorts tab.
Shorts. Okay. Get to
Yeah,
the
on that
shorts one.
page.
Okay. Yes, I got you.
Yeah, the thumbnail is Rossi and the text says in the Super Bowl.
In the Super Bowl. Okay, I see it. All right, let's watch this one.
What is on the Minnesota Vikings helmet?
That question.
Horns.
That's correct. What 2 teams have won the most Super Bowls?
Okay. Packers and Patriots.
Incorrect.
Oh no, it's no. Steelers and Patriots.
That's correct. What team does Joe Burrow play for?
Good God. Bengals.
That's correct. What team did Tom Brady get beaten by twice in the Super Bowl?
Giants.
That's correct, yep.
My team.
What team does Justin Herbert play for?
Oh, that's my first guess. Los Angeles Chargers.
That's correct. What NFL teams play their home games in New Jersey?
Jets and Giants.
That's correct. What is on the Minnesota Vikings?
All right, let's talk about beach show here, and this again looks a little bit like that Titans one holding the lav mic here.
Yeah, so the format that inspired me for that one, I'd see this one page where they'd ask a basketball question. So like I don't know, like what was Michael Jordan's 3-point percentage? And then before they could answer, they'd have to drain a shot. And I was like, let's do that for football. So I don't know why specifically we did it on the beach to begin with. I think that's just because like we knew that there were people there and we'd have a little bit of space to work with. I really don't know why we did it on the beach to begin with, but we also knew what kind of questions to ask. So even though they're easier questions, sometimes it's just what makes it hard is just the pressure of being up against someone, and also like it's kind of hard to hit that chair with the football, and that's another level of entertainment value that people get out of that. Is that especially with the guys when they just completely miss it, people find that hilarious. Kids like, oh, you're a guy, you should know how to throw a football. But yeah, so once again, took a format that we know that worked, added our own twist, and then voila. And last summer, that series was huge for us. Like those would consistently get like 1 million views on both YouTube and TikTok.
So if you get 1 million views, and I know there's different variations of stuff, but what does that do monetarily for you? If you got like 1 million views, how much money can you make off that?
So for TikTok, it's weird. So, at first they used to pay like $1,000 per million views, like in their beta program. So before they got their current program, that beta program, people were
Wow.
cashing in.
Really?
Yeah, it's basically $1,000 per million views. Now my RPM actually varies. So if the content's doing well, the RPM is going to go down because it's like you're getting a high volume of views. Let's go down to keep the money even. But if my content's not doing as well, the RPM goes up because it's like, all right, you're not getting as much views now. Let's try and reward you with the views you really are getting. Um, but one of my recent videos on TikTok, it was able to blow up while I wasn't really getting a lot of views. So like it was like a $1.21 per 1,000 views I got. But on TikTok, it's also qualified views. So a qualified view on TikTok is someone who watches it for more than 5 seconds. So you can't really see the total, like the precise number of views, and this times that by whatever the RPM was. It's like how many qualified views it had times the RPM. On YouTube, I think my RPM is like 20 cents. So, um, what would 20 cents times a million be?
It's too late for me to figure that out right
Yeah,
now,
huh?
but it's a lot.
Yeah. So $200.
2,000 or 200.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you got to do a lot of evolution here in terms of your thinking. How do you stay on top of the trends and adjust your content to what the market is and to what all these different services are doing?
We just take inspiration from what's already working. People might find that copying, but like I said this so many times in your class. This country was built on stealing. Um, so and I don't like to directly copy. I do find that pretty sleazy, but I see what's working. I just try and think like, how can I make that work for my content?
Well, it's
And I
no
start
different than the NFL, right? You get the
exactly,
West Coast offense and everybody copies
yeah,
that. Then you
or
get the go ahead.
um, when ESPN introduced the Manning cast, everyone
Mhm.
else wanted to do
Sure.
something so much like it. Like
Yeah.
it, it's you just have to find what works. Um, And now coming up with the specific kinds of questions, a lot like all of the quote iPad questions are kind of original. So like we've done so like the literal players, which is the versus one you saw. We do one where it's like instead of a player name, it's a team name. Uh, guessing the colors. Like I was trying to think of things that my target audience would like. So I have to make sure it's not too hard, but I also have to make sure that it's still entertaining.
Well, I think part of the fun too is you get to play along, right? I'm at home, I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out what all these puzzles are that you're doing, trying to figure it out before these drunken kids can figure it out themselves. So it's a lot of fun. So that kind of leads me to the next big question is what's next for you in the business? You've already established this brand, you're building on it. I know you said you get a little bored because it's so easy for you sometimes because you get your work done quickly. Where do you see your next dreams going within the business?
So luckily, I've just started to expand. So what I'm doing now is, so I obviously have 6-7 football up and running. That's gonna stay with just the style of content I'm doing. Last season I used to do these sweat bet videos, and basically what it was is it was Underdog sponsored videos. So I would take Underdog's product, which is their pick'em game, and I would make a pick. So let's say for you, Mr. Bears fan, DJ Moore higher on receiving yards. And what I do, I would film myself watching and reacting to the game to see if that pick would hit.
Mm.
And those would sometimes do really well. And once again, that's a format I knew that worked. So I just started a channel called 610 Picks, where right now I am re-uploading the ones I filmed last season onto those,
Oh
so I
wow.
can build a little bit of a library. And then by the time college football and the NFL season roll around, I'll have new fresh content to upload. And that's good because most of the time it does not get flagged by TikTok because technically sponsored content can't be monetized, but I always appeal it. I'm like, it's not sponsored. um and then also the entire time I have my underdog code on the screen, so like that's what really drove signups for me on underdog. So I have 610 picks up and running. um I should be uploading my first video to a channel called End Zone this weekend. Basically what that is it's going to be like these gaudy clickbaity um styles of videos. So like it's like so like the one we're uploading is like shocking NFL moments. And those are videos that have done well on other channels before. And that was one that I even uploaded that did really well for me. So it's, I always like to think of it as like BuzzFeed article NFL videos, you know what I mean? Like the real gaudy, like, not cringy, but oh, you got to see this. The ones that have like super unrealistic thumbnails, but they're still relating to what the video is about. I've started to upload, content onto my own personal accounts just so, I can have like my own personal brand. And my plan is, with the money I make from 610 Media, I don't give myself I do not like paying myself. I like to keep as much of it in the business as possible. So I pay myself a tiny bit, but the idea is like, all right, let me get my own personal brand going. That's not really connected to 610 Media. It's more so just me and make money for myself off of that. So as much as the money I make from 610 Media can stay within the business. I have like 10 different channels I want to start because, like I said before, I was uploading just a variety of football content, and it might have been good content, but it wouldn't always perform well because it got pushed out to the wrong football audience. So I have a bunch of different just like styles of content I want to upload, and they all each need their own dedicated channels because they all each have their own dedicated niche and dedicated audience. So I'm slowly starting to expand there. I am working with Owen now. You mentioned him to
All
me.
right, good.
He's gonna start helping me with thumbnails and whatnot. And
Awesome.
actually, let me show you the draft that he sent me because it was actually really good. Um,
He's talking about Owen Lapp, one of our other
yes,
graduates who lives in
yeah.
Pennsylvania too,
I can't
and
turn
is
this on,
pretty great at graphics. Yeah,
but
that's awesome.
yeah, a really kind of like clickbaity thumbnail. That's like, yeah, a plane didn't actually crash at the Super Bowl, but like it's still eye catching. And what doesn't make that clickbait is I still deliver on the title of the video. I'm just using a very fabricated scenario to get your attention.
So that's a tease for you to check it out once he's got it
Yeah,
ready to go,
it
right?
yeah, it should be uploaded this weekend. And
One
Asa's editing that for me. So like I said,
Asa Anderson, another graduate of ours.
yeah,
One
I
other
guess I guess I should mention last names.
That's okay. I've mentioned
Yeah.
it. One last thing I want to touch on because I didn't get to it before we get into our final part here, but graphic wise, right? Production value. How much does that play into the success of your product?
I think a good bit. I try to make sure that my stuff looks clean. Doesn't have to look amazing. I just want it to look clean. So I was able to get an animation style down for like the graphics coming in and out. I just think it's very clean. It's not overbearing. It adds a little bit to the video, but it's not taking away from the general purpose of the video. Um but my goal was to just get a look that was clean, and that still looked amateur. Like I said, this is YouTube. It doesn't have to be some LA Film Festival award-winning production we're putting on here. It's YouTube Shorts, but I just wanted it to look clean because I still have a standard I want to hold myself to when it comes to putting out my content.
All right. Well, we like to end with what we call the dream sequence. So that's 3 quick hit questions. You give me quick answers. Okay. You ready for it?
Yeah, I might fail with the quick answers, but
That's okay. Well, it's like what you asked for in your videos. We got to hold you the
true.
same standard, right? So, all right, dream special guest appearance in one of your videos. Who's it going to be?
Ooh, gosh. I'll just keep it ambiguous. Just an NFL player. I do
Well, give me a
film.
specific one.
Okay, so here's a quote realistic one. Since I filmed the videos over in Westchester, Carl Nassib lives in Westchester, the
Huh.
former DN for the Browns, Bucks, and Raiders. So that's a realistic option. There is a non 0% chance I get to have him in one of my videos just because I film it where he lives.
Yeah, well, former brother of Ryan Nassib, former Syracuse quarterback. Carl Nassib made history as the first NFL player to come out, and guy
Yeah.
who also gives good financial advice on Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
So lots to like
Yeah.
about Carl Nassib. So that's a good one. All right, you're into music. You were in the band and all that. Dream musical band for you. You can add however you want it to be. You can be the drummer, the singer, whatever you want to be, but you get to make your own band here. So who's your band?
Growing up, I really liked Queen. I really like their not popular stuff. I feel like with the release of Bohemian Rhapsody, their music got oversaturated, but their non-popular stuff really good. And then I also like an artist called Will Wood. He makes very unique music, but very non-traditional with his music, but I still think it's fantastic.
All right, finally, we've seen you at the beach. We've seen you at the Westchester spot that you were talking about. We've seen you looking like you're out at Pat's and Gino's somewhere else in Philly. Dream 610 football road trip. Where are you going to go?
Um, I think I already did it. It was when I went to the Pro Bowl. Um, I um I do not want to go to the Super Bowl. That seems too chaotic, and I also want to watch the game on TV. Um, but the Pro Bowl is in a place that I like, Orlando. I got to see my college friends, and I got to visit the campus. Um, and I didn't have to worry about missing, anything. We still watched the game, but like they're like, oh, I'll watch the Pro Bowl, but like we were still able to do work there and then go enjoy the game afterwards without having to like stress and worry about me missing something from the game. I have a big FOMO when it comes to football.
All right, final
Big
piece
FOMO.
of final piece of advice to broadcasters, young broadcasters, whether they want to get into what you're doing or something else.
Don't eat yellow snow. No, I'm just joking. um, push yourself. Always, always, always try and get honest feedback. So be very peculiar about who you ask for feedback. I hate asking my parents for feedback. I hate it because they're not going to tell me what I need to hear. I love being roasted. It is the best thing because it's funny sometimes, but B, it allows me to get better and really improve my content. Yeah, always try and get better. Um, always humble yourself. I feel like I always tell myself I suck. And like that is a mindset that I really developed. Like I suck at what I do. I need to keep on getting better. There's a quote on the wall in the studio somewhere, someone is working harder than you. Live up to that because there are so many talented people and it takes a lot to really break into this industry. Go to the studio as much as possible. Get as much feedback from or like build a strong connection with the teachers as much as possible and the fellow students there. Yeah, I don't know what else. Don't yell snow.
And
Yeah,
don't eat
don't
yellow
yell
snow.
snow.
He got his one-liner in that he was looking for earlier. So that's a good way to end the show. Hey, Darren Healey doing great things. Want to thank him for joining us today. Check out his content on 610 Football. You can find the YouTube channel, TikTok, lots of other social media. All of you, keep on living your dream.